Hey, welcome to STS. This is a show where we talk about current events and things going on in the world of parkour. Both of us have been practicing parkour for a long time, and we hope that we're able to give insights into the world of parkour that you wouldn't get anywhere else.
In today's episode, we talk about the 2023 transition, our goals and hopes for the new year, and also Storror's Cavemen 5.
Please, if you haven't already, drop us a like, leave us a comment below, and without further ado, let's get into today's episode. I don't think we officially have said Happy New Year, so Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Hey,
yes.
We have nothing to toast. Dang. You know, I
Should've got
realized,
some
do you like champagne?
No.
Yeah, I don't really care for champagne. We did have a champagne that was kind of more of like a cider.
Okay.
But the other thing I realized I was thinking about champagne was that for SPL, we don't do what every other big competition does, which is give the athletes champagne. And I wonder if we started doing that, if that would be a good or a bad thing. Like, would that just be copying everybody else?
I mean, it would be cool. It's like a cool visual, but the only problem is like the cleanup situation, you know?
Yeah, I don't mind too much about that because it is just liquid. I'm sure it's sticky.
But we also don't just have like the style winners like every other competition.
Yeah.
It's like
another bottle,
and I'm, it's fine with multiple bottles, but then it's just like by the last podium, it's like, oh, I'm stepping on all this sticky wetness.
Yeah, I also just think it's kind of lame. I'm not really into it, but I'm curious. Like, leave a comment in either if you listen to the podcast or if you're listening to this on YouTube. Leave a comment. Let us know how you feel about champagne on podiums, because I would like a little bit of consensus here. If it is it a cool thing? Am I missing it? Am I the boomer in the room?
I think you are the boomer in the room. You're always the boomer in the room.
Yeah.
Unless you're in a room full of boomers, in which case you're definitely not the boomer in a room. I think it's kind of cool. It's like kind of hype moment. The athletes get to bask in their glory and champagne apparently, but I don't know. It's I just sticky champagne afterwards.
Actually, you know what might be cool is if they got to saber it.
Yeah.
But then we'd have to have some sort of athlete meeting before, like, if you win, here's how you do it.
I gotta show you a video of Caroline trying to saber.
So she didn't have the pre-athlete meeting, is what you're saying?
It literally exploded on her.
Ooh. I mean, that's kind of exciting.
We're like standing outside in the grass barefoot, and now we have to like go find all these glass pieces.
She didn't get cut though.
No, but it did like kind of hit her thumb pretty hard. So, yeah. Anyway, here we are.
Yeah.
2023.
2023.
Welcome to the new year.
Do you know what the best video of the year is so far?
Cavemen 5.
Hey, it's Cavemen 5. Best video of 2023 that I've seen.
So far.
It's a tight race.
It's a tight race so far. Actually, I don't even know of any other videos that have come out.
No.
So, do we want to jump straight into Cavemen 5?
I think so. Did you want to talk about anything before we talk about Cavemen 5?
Well, we could do like New Year, New Us kind of things.
Okay. I actually haven't spent a lot of time thinking about it this time, even though that's what we were supposed to be doing for
Yeah. Well, you
episode.
put me on the spot last year.
So
yeah. Maybe we'll put you on the spot this year.
Okay.
But we can come back to that if you want to talk about Cavemen 5.
I have I have repeat goals.
Yeah.
They're not that much different than just like unfinished work from 2022. I think we're poised to, unless there's some sort of massive recession, which
is that's likely to happen.
Well, I mean, it's already happening, So I always feel like Vancouver exists in like a bubble to some degree, though. Like even what was 2011 the recession?
No, 2008.
2008. Okay. So I was a bit young to feel it, is the thing.
Yeah.
Because 2008, how old? Ooh. Math. Okay, I would have been in my early 20s. Or just 2008. Yeah, early 20s.
20. You would have been like
23, I think.
No.
Yeah.
Really?
No.
Oh,
matter.
yeah. Sorry, yeah. 20. Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
So,
math.
Yeah. So, I don't think I existed in a world where I would have felt it so much. It was just something that was out there. I'm sure there's a lot of communities and countries, particularly the U.S., that were affected. But like living here, and it was just a word. Recession's happening. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we're definitely feeling inflation. We're definitely not isolated from that. We've been experiencing some heavy inflation, but it's also like Vancouver's a ridiculously expensive city in general. So like, especially for like the cost of living relative to like salaries, and it's pretty.
I'm also not an economist, so
a lot of people are saying that this is going to be the big one, like not like 2008, but even bigger and worse.
But what needs to happen? Again, this is not an economist podcast.
Talking about the economy.
But, it's just like what is going to happen in 2023 that didn't already happen in 2022 that is going to lead to, or is it just like the effects like gradually hitting?
So massive like layoffs.
Economist Tom, let me know.
Okay, so we've already experienced a little bit in 2022. Like a lot of these tech companies are laying off people like crazy, like huge layoffs, right? And I was like, well, what is it about tech companies that like why are they laying so many people off? Well, actually, it comes down to other businesses are struggling right now, and they aren't buying advertising on these tech platforms in the same amounts that they were doing in previous years. So a large revenue stream for a lot of these tech companies has been impacted very heavily because a lot of other companies are struggling right now. And so it's like this ripple effect. So this is almost like an indicator that like this is only the beginning, because now people are basically being let go. It's not gonna be as easy to get a job as it was in the past, and they're gonna be, that's gonna have ripple effects across the economy, because now these people who don't have jobs aren't gonna be able to pay for goods and services that they were at the same rate as they were before.
Right. Can't wait for the economist expert to economy. I'm using the word wrong. Economy expert to leave a comment.
Yeah, please do. I clearly know what I'm talking about.
It's interesting. I just know that there's so much with Origins that hasn't been done in previous years. Like we talk about like things like marketing, sales, non-existent. Like almost non-existent up until this point. And I think if we're able to actually execute on some of the stuff we've been working on in the past year, that will be okay, and I think we should be able to do better. And I guess the concern with a recession is that no one's going to be able to afford parkour anymore.
Yeah, it's definitely a luxury.
Parkour being the free sport, no one's going to be able to afford gyms anymore. So, I guess I'm not. I do have some. I do have some not necessarily plan Bs, but different things, that I'm thinking about. Like, okay, this is how we'll start, looking at things if X happens.
So plan B is open a liquor store?
Yeah, just for the bad time.
Recession proof.
No, weed store.
Weed store. Oh yeah, that's actually
Those are recession proof.
Yeah. It's getting
mushroom dispensary.
It's getting saturated right now. Actually, mushroom dispensary is going to be the next one, right?
Yeah.
So, but it's still not. We're still in the legal gray area there. It's still very illegal, but anyway.
So goal one is to continue to improve. I did achieve a revenue goal in 2022, and so I'm looking to beat that in 2023, and I think we will. My video's still not done.
Failed that one.
So we're going to. Does it feel okay? So there's a little bit of a thing here. Does it feel like winter to you right now?
Okay, so it definitely felt like winter before.
Before being like a couple weeks ago?
Like a couple weeks ago when it was like we were blasted with snow and it was like...
It was minus 10
Yeah.
Celsius.
Yeah. So that felt like winter. And I've actually it's never experienced a winter like that before. But it still feels like kind of winter.
Yeah.
But it's just like relative to where we were two weeks ago or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, the difference is that on
it's
Sunday,
warmed up a lot.
Sunday I went out and trained.
Outside, yeah.
And there was a point where I wanted to take off my hoodie and just be in a t-shirt, and then, put it back on after.
So the thing is, it's still wet.
Yeah.
And that's like, and when it's wet, it never dries up because it's too cold to dry up, right?
Right.
So like, that's my measure of winter, really.
Yeah, we have like 2 weeks of rain only coming up, I think.
We've actually had like last week has been good.
But anyways, the weather talk is because we're going to Belgium in February.
Yes.
And I'm trying to plan. I want to. There's like one or two more things I want to do for my video, and I'm actually trying to figure out if I can actually get them done before we go.
Before February.
So that'd be cool. I definitely feel better about them because when I was trying to get them done in a hurry before winter came, I was like, oh, I feel less injured, less weak, more prepared to do these things. But it was I still had enough doubt in my mind, and that's why I couldn't pull the trigger. And I think I have less doubt now, and I can get it done. Okay. But we need like a stretch of
decent weather,
good weather up to that point, and everything has to align. So otherwise, I have to wait until we get back. It's like March, and we're getting into springtime,
which will be better weather.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
But anyways, video gets finished. It's basically done. There's one or two other things I got to do, and then I got to figure out with Mateo what the edit's gonna look like.
Yeah.
But I actually want to do a 20-year video as well. So 2 videos.
2 videos
in 2023 is the plan.
Ambish.
One of them being a project that already should be done. You get that done, but I just want to finish that project because it has a certain theme.
So there's only 2 more lines that you got to do or things.
So I was talking about yesterday. I was like, oh, I found like a speed line in a spot, and it's just like I keep adding things because I'll go through like I have 20 or more lines filmed, and I'm like, does it feel like enough? I won't know until we edit. But the thing is, the more. Ooh, we can get into this when we talk about Cavemen too, but I feel like the more, and you came across this when you were editing dive holes, where it's like the more you have to work with. So if I have like extra lines, then you can throw out some, that just don't work with the music or don't fit in the overall like watchability of the thing. So I do want to record.
Or they're weaker lines that you just like, this doesn't need to be in there.
Oh, sometimes they look really cool though. Like I definitely have some ones that aren't as strong, but they fit other things that work. So I just want to have maybe a couple more. So that one I talked about, I think ticks off some boxes. It's not. I don't think it's going to be a harder one, but it definitely ticks off some other boxes and might fit into the edit. So. Yeah, trying to be done with it, but it could use a couple more, and then it could use that. I gotta do that stupid jump that I've probably mentioned on this podcast like numerous times.
Every podcast we talk about it.
Yeah, crazy. It's on my mind. But those are I think those are the big goals for 2023.
Nice.
20-year video. I have to figure out. I don't have as clear of an idea as some people. I may have already passed 20 years. I actually realized the other day because I did the math.
Were you?
I think I
03?
started end of 03, and then I actually have to go on bouldering.net because it has
bouldering.net or buildering.net.
Buildering.net. I think Arlen keeps up records that date back, and I think I can find out when my first jam was.
PKBC 1?
It would have been PKCA.
PKCA.
PKCA 3
Gotcha.
was my first jam. So
it would have been that year, same year.
I think it was 2004 though when that happened, but I think I started parkour slightly before that. So I don't know. This is a weird thing too, because I think when I was coming up in parkour, it was popular to say things like, "Oh, I've been doing parkour for 3 years, but seriously for only a year."
Yeah.
You know, so that really muddied the waters when it comes to me remembering exactly when I started. So either way, 20-ish. I'm at 20. It's either this year or I just passed it, but either way.
20-ish.
20-ish years of parkour. So that'll be the video title, 20-ish.
20-ish. I like it. That's a huge milestone, though. It's like, you think about that, like, most people don't stick to something for 20 years.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, especially something like parkour, I guess. There's all kinds of reasons why people get demotivated and don't even want... Because, like, I think Jeremy Sanders reached out to me. So there's a weird name drop. I think Jeremy said that, we're 20-year twinsies.
Oh, yeah.
And then he specifically said, I started in 2004, and then I was like, wait, I started doing the math of it, and I was like, oh, pretty easy math. It's addition, addition and subtraction. But yeah, he said it's also his 20 years, and I think Giles also mentioned in podcasts. So. Yeah, goal is to make a 20-year video and to be better than Giles. There you go.
Interesting. Weird flex.
Yeah, definitely weird flex. It's your turn.
It's my turn.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't even. I wish we had gone back and looked at what did we say last year, and just then we can kind of reflect on how. So one of the things that we did was we had SPL1. Which was a success. Mm-hmm. We actually did it. Whereas because we were super unsure of it in January last year, we were like, are we gonna have COVID restrictions during, the rest of the year?
Yeah, because
we
were still in the middle of it.
So we were like, that was a goal, but we weren't sure if it was even gonna be possible to do. I released dive holes, so that was 2-ish years in the making. So I'm happy that I got that done. I think other things that we said was kind of just being consistent on YouTube, which we sort of did. We've actually been very consistent more recently, but we took a bit of a break. Yeah,
by the way, we're recording some stuff this week. We just recorded something yesterday, so we will get back to the same kind of content that hopefully you know and love, which is more coaching-based stuff, I think.
Yeah, and if you're a listener to this, tell us in the comments below the type of content that you want to see from us, because we're covering a broad range of topics all the time, right? So we're being consistent on STS episodes like this, but we are also doing coach explains types of videos or breakdowns of different things that have happened, or we also post some action edits and things like that as well. So vlogs, vlog type content. So let us know in the comments below what type of content you want to see from us in 2023. So moving into 2023, what my goals are. I'm not really a goal kind of guy. This sounds really bad the way I say it.
That's a YouTube channel.
Goal guy, yeah. That's true. So the way I like to think about it is what do I want to spend energy on in the 2023? What do I want to build habits around? Mm-hmm. And so moving into winter, we started training in the mornings. So we're doing 3-day weeks now. Mm-hmm. So I want to continue on that trend, keep my training frequency up. I'm feeling really good about the strength I'm building in those sessions, but I'd like that to translate into more parkour focused training into the better weather seasons. So that's kind of number one. I have little micro goals around that. I would like to increase my jump to a number.
Because it's not a number right now.
Well, no, there's a number I have in my mind, but if I fall short of that, I don't really care. It's more just like that. I'm just targeting, like, okay, this would be a good benchmark to reach.
I think that's actually one of the hardest things to set, like, because we're talking about like standing jump number.
Yes,
that's really hard to set. Like, I hear people put out goals, and I'm like, I don't know how attainable that is for you.
That's why I'm not even being public about it.
Well, because like, and it's hard to determine because there's so many variables. But I think some people like hit a ceiling before they realize.
Yeah,
I'm talking about people that are like more new to it. Like, it's different. Like, I think what you're alluding to is it's like something you've hit before.
Oh yeah.
And so you're like, okay, can I get back to, a jump distance that I hit in my 20s because you took some time off from focusing on that, and now you're going back and doing the specific things that would lead to it. So you're probably in better shape for it than someone like starting off lifting, and it's like, I measured my standing broad jump and it's 9 feet and I'm going to get to 11. Because, I went up an inch like this month and I went up an inch the next month. So this trend's just going to continue. And it's not how it works.
No. So then in parkour related focus, I want to film some stuff this year. I have like thoughts and ideas around video projects that I'd like to do. I don't know if they'll be done by the end of the year, but I just want to get in the habit of filming things. For a parkour edit, not for Instagram. Instagram I don't really care about. Like I've been very very demotivated by Instagram as of late.
It's a demotivating place.
Very demotivating place. Which is like I don't care most of the time. Yeah. There was a period of time where I was like very interested in Instagram growth, but at this point it's just like a place to like where a lot of energy goes into, and I can't say I haven't got anything out of it. I've definitely gotten a lot of great things out of Instagram, but it just feels like it sucks a lot of energy out of me, and I don't know if I want to continue. Well, we'll see. We'll see. No, never say never. But
it's funny because remember we were talking about, I don't know if it was on the podcast, but we were talking about art and Instagram, and you're like, Instagram's not a place for art. Like, you know what I mean? Like if you're trying to make art, it's like, no, Instagram is like kind of a strategic, almost like business type tool where, like, yes, there's connections made. Yes, you can be creative and do things, but it's not going to, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not going to reward you for your art.
Yeah.
And then I just realized that I posted some art on there the other day.
Well, so I maybe I'll push back on that. And I'm sure, like, I think if you're like, you can creatively like work through Instagram and it will pay off. Like there's ways you can get creative using Reels and Instagram and stories and things like that will generate more following or more engagement or more, and so there is an artful side to Instagram, but it's hard to be an artist without trying to game it, if you know what I mean. Yeah. Like work along with the algorithm instead of just doing the art for art's sake.
Yeah.
So, where were we with? I want to film more stuff. I picked up skiing basically last season. So this year I've been skiing a lot more. I want to continue that habit. It's been super fun, and I've been going up to the mountain pretty regularly now, and I have started to realize like this is the first time I'm doing, like, in a really long time that I'm doing an activity where I don't feel like I have to be great at it. Like, I want to get better. I definitely want to improve, but I'm not doing, and like with parkour, for me, since the beginning, it's been about being as good as possible and like aggressively pursuing parkour in a way that made me, better or great in some capacity to the point where I can achieve recognition and a higher levels of the sport, like be a professional, like professional level capacity. Whereas with skiing, it's been like just this, oh yeah, like this is fun, like hobby that I do once, maybe twice a week if I'm lucky, where, so it's actually been really therapeutic to approach skiing with that mentality where I don't care that I'm not great at it, and I probably will never be great at it because I'm picking it up so late in life. But so that's something that I want to continue pursuing because it's been such a fun outlet for me to get into. And I have goals around skiing. Like I want to be able to like ski confidently, like on some black runs and stuff. So, because right now, whenever I go on a black run, it's just terror. It's a total struggle. Yeah, and then I have some personal goals that I'm not going to get into, but we'll leave it there, I think.
Okay. Yeah, it was like when you were talking about doing parkour and like wanting to just get the most out of yourself out of it, like be the best. Yeah, I think that's also why, like, because we were talking about 20 years. I think that's why some people don't reach 20 years. And even was it? I think it was a week before last week we were talking about how your frequency went down.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not trying to speak for you, but like I wonder if that's like part of it too. Where because I definitely noticed for like some other people where the progression stops. Or it doesn't stop, it like really levels out, and like the motivation just drops because it's so much harder to get better after a certain amount of time. And I've always considered myself someone that is always trying to progress. Like I've never lost motivation to progress. I've just lost body things, but the motivation has always been fairly constant.
Yeah.
But I also think I've talked about this like in a video where I talked about like parkour and age, where I think part of it is also just that I didn't start off parkour being very good. When I think about like the first jam I went to, it was like the worst one there. There's probably like 20 guys. And I was like, geez, like these guys just are like chucking themselves at walls and stuff, and I can't do that. And some of them, it was their first day too, And then weeks go on, and I'm, it's no longer my first day, but it's the same guys, and I'm probably putting in more work, but they're still like just, having an easier time executing on what their interpretation of parkour is. So it's always just been kind of easy to play the chase game, where I'm just like, whatever the level is, like I'm just trying to touch it all the time. Whereas I think if I started out parkour being more gifted in it, I don't know if I would have the same, I can't, I don't like the idea of patting myself on the back for like continuing to be motivated, because I think it's just more like in part as a byproduct of just not being that good. Whereas like people that are a little more gifted and they're like, oh, it's great that, they're trying to give me the pat on the back. I'm like, well, you're in a different boat.
Yeah. So when my frequency drops down, I still had ambition around what I wanted to do with parkour.
Okay.
And it's like, if you look at dive holes, the thing is, most of dive holes I didn't have to train for.
Yeah.
I just had to be in the right mental space to do the thing.
Right.
And some of it was a grind, right? There was one line in particular that you filmed where it was just like, I beat myself up.
Are you talking about it was like the red bars?
No, but that one too.
Oh, which one are we talking about?
The one that is kind of just off of Broadway.
So not the bruise one.
Not the big bruise one, no. The one that had the rail at the, like, that I had the pop over. So it was like dive, hole, pop. And then I like ran around and kind of, how do I explain this? So it's the one that started with the Kong splat.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Dang, because I was like thinking that one was recorded, like, I remember I was doing this.
Yeah.
This was, I had like a grip for my iPhone and I was like trying to zoom and film it. Okay. Yeah, because that one had all kinds of things that you could crash into.
Yeah, and I did. And that's like, and that one was, I just beat myself up around. And this isn't something it's like, I have to spend the time training to build up myself to be able to do this. It's just, I had to go there in the right mental space, in the right circumstance, and just start grinding away at it until it happened. And the same is true for a lot of the lines that were happening in dive holes. So it's like training frequency didn't really matter. It was more just like, I gotta go and do the things that are hard and just grind through them until they're done. So like, and I think, and we already talked about why my training frequency dropped and so on, but I still had a lot of ambition in parkour and what I wanted to achieve and accomplish. And so I actually feel like a bit of like freedom now that I'm done with that project. It's like, what do I do now? It's like the world's open.
I can't wait for that freedom.
Yeah, good luck. I remember feeling actually the opposite when I finished Ascension 2, which was it wasn't a freedom. It was like, I will never achieve anything on that level again. That was like my perspective on the end, like that final ascent that I did. I remember turning to you and I was like, I don't know if I'll do anything as hard as that ever in my life again.
Well, it's like, that last ascent with like the really exposed like 2-story up dyno, I think that's the hardest thing you've ever done.
100%. And I still believe, I don't think I'll ever do, like when I went back there.
Wait, before you say that though, like, because the dive hole where it's like the pull through the tiny brick window, like the pull through to Kong, because you did the Reddit post where it was like, it's my greatest achievement. So which one is that? Which one is actually the greatest achievement?
So we have the end of dive holes versus the end of Ascension 2. End of Ascension 2, 100%.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because. So I guess technical.
I feel better that you're saying that because I thought you were like it's like overshadowing is the word, I guess. The ascent when you were talking about that, but it was probably just for like relevancy's sake.
Yeah, exactly. So the Reddit post said one of my greatest achievements. Okay, both of those two things like I'm super proud of like having completed both of them, but definitely the ascent. And it was technically a little bit easier to do than the dive hole, but mentally way harder. Like there's no comparison.
Yeah. Well, that one took what, like 4 years?
Yeah, 4 years
of visiting the
and literally just repping it out at the bottom level to the point where it was just like, am I going to be okay with this? And it's like 100% success rate on the dyno. So yeah, like there was still doubt in my mind when I was going to do it, and it was just like how I had to convince myself like I've literally never failed this. I'm not gonna miss. I'm not gonna miss. So I had to, and it took me 4 years. So definitely the greatest achievement. But I remember turning to you, and I don't remember exactly what I said, but I remember I finished when I did it. We were walking away, and I was like, I don't know what to do now. Like now that I've completed this thing, like it's been on my mind for such a long time, and I've been working towards it for such a long time. It's like I don't think I will do anything at this level ever again. And so I don't know what to do. And there was a period where it wasn't a depression, but it was like a feeling lost. And now, actually having finished dive holes, it's kind of the opposite. It's more like a freshness, the freedom. It's like, oh, now I have opportunity and openness towards new ideas and projects.
Hey, sorry for the interruption. We don't have any ads playing on STS anymore, but it would help us out a lot if we're able to reach more people. So if you haven't done so already, please share this with someone, or at the very least, drop us a like or leave a comment. That really helps us out a lot. And without further ado, let's get back to today's episode. I actually wanted to ask you, we might have to Google this, but do you remember when the first Cavemen came out, like what year it was?
No.
Shoot. Okay, because, so the thing about Cavemen, I don't know if you'll agree, it's my favorite video series, easily. But then I think also the thing that makes that easy is there aren't, I don't want to, and this shouldn't take away from it, but there aren't many video series in parkour, but it almost doesn't need to be a series. If I looked at it just as the Cave Brothers, if it wasn't a series, if I just looked at the Cave Brothers and they were putting out, if they put out 5 videos up until this point, 2014, okay. If they put out, okay, that doesn't quite line up. When did Cavemen 2 come out then? Because I feel like they started, I'm going to attribute tons of inspiration
2016
to the Cavemen series and to the bros. Because if they were just putting out different titles, it would still feel the same to me. It's like, I can't wait for the next Cave Brothers, we'll say it, video to come out, even if it wasn't like part of the same series. Just there's no duo or no even singular athlete that I'm more excited about releasing a video than Max and Benj Cave.
Yeah.
And I think because of that they were actually the catalyst for me to want to make a video. And that's why I asked for the date, but that's actually too early. So it must have been, maybe it was Cavemen 2. And part of the, I almost want to go back and like watch the development of the style, because at a certain point it was very clear that they were doing longer lines. Mm-hmm. And that was part of it. That was like definitely part of it, is I wanted to do a line video.
Yeah.
And I still can't say what the theme of my video is, because I'm selfishly and narcissistically afraid that someone, if that's even a word, that someone else is going to do it. So I don't feel like anyone has done a video with the theme of lines that I've done yet. So I'm not going to talk about it, but Cavemen was definitely the catalyst for that, 100%. And I started thinking about it in like 2017. So you said Cavemen 1, we just looked, was 2014.
Cavemen 2 was 2016. Cavemen 3 was 2017.
Yeah, so it was probably around like Cavemen 3 where I was like, I want to do something like this.
Yeah.
And I want to start training in a way like this. And I think they're just doing what to me is like the truest expression of parkour mastery, when like just the way that they are looking, and we can talk about some of their limitations later, but I think the way that they're looking at the architecture and their surroundings, where it's stuff that you can't do if you are like a trick specialist, for example. So someone that...
Or if you live anywhere else other than England.
Yeah, that's true too. But I just think like their ability to like see and be like, here's the path, and we're gonna take this path. So, and there's some like creative bits that go into it. Like it's not all like efficient A to B. Like there's some creativity involved. But yeah, I think that's just like the truest expression of parkour mastery there.
Well, so I think, I mean, you did say that it's not always exactly A to B, but it is very much an A to B style. Like they're like, most of what happens in Cavemen videos is what's so cool about them is, to me at least, is that it's not necessarily about what they're doing, but it's about the ground that they're covering. And obviously, yeah, like they do cool moves and they're doing like crazy tic-tacs and stuff, but it's about the environments that they're doing it in, and it's about how much ground that they're covering. And this is like, you said truest expression of parkour mastery. I don't know if I would say mastery, but the truest expression of traditional parkour. It's like, this is a series where we're actually seeing people put together lines in the way that like a David Bell would approve of, you know, and not that we need
the
his
reason
approval.
I say it's not A to B so far, and it's actually interesting that you mentioned David Bell, because I remember that the really early, I think it was like 2001, French newscast that he does, where he's like walking and he's like, oh, parkour is like, and he just like skips some stairs and like swings around a pole and stuff, and he's like, this is what it is. Because even then he wasn't talking about it being like efficient. He's just like, I choose to go this way.
But the line he does with Manpower Gap.
Yeah.
Right? That's like, he goes from the top of this building over here, across a gap, and then down all the way to the ground level.
Yeah.
And that's a really long line that includes parkour elements and is hard. And it's not necessarily about the moves he does as much as it is about like, holy crap, that guy went from the top of this building over here to the bottom of a different building, right? And in a matter of seconds.
Yeah.
So I feel the same way about what Cavemen is doing, right? They're like covering so much ground from one side all the way down to the opposite end of a building, like to the ground level. And most of it is descending.
Yeah, that's
lines.
The style of Cavemen 5 especially. Again, we'd have to watch back, but that was like really what struck us both when we were watching it yesterday was that, it's actually a lot of start at the top, get to the ground, descending type stuff.
I meant to go back and watch all of them. I didn't have time for it, but I did watch Cavemen 4, and it very much was heavily themed around mostly descending lines.
I guess because it's shorter, it doesn't stand. When this one is 12, we'll talk about that a bit too, but it's like 12 and a half minutes. And so it's like, like you really get into the idea of like, this is the theme. And it's interesting because also the subheading or secondary title for it is Escape on Foot. Yeah, so it's like escape from the top.
Which is very much in line with reach escape scenario of like the traditional element of parkour. And so my video dive holes and ascension, those are very much like parkour focused, but it is themed around like a very specific style, whereas theirs are like way longer lines and very much like traditional like A to B lines. Now, not all of them. It was examples of a couple of non-traditional. Yeah,
well, and also like when we get
skills.
into this is why I always like the efficient parkour debate fails, because like so much of the Steve was asking me the other day about like why the gym doesn't train police officers, and I actually we kind of hashed it out a bit because I said this was something that we were approached about early on, and then we've talked about, but I don't think parkour is very useful to police officers, because if I got to chase someone down, it's just how much fitter am I than they are. Even the average parkour guy, like if someone's gonna catch me, they just gotta be more fit than me. Like really, that's what it comes down to. Or I gotta be really lucky that I happen upon like a wall run or something, or a gap jump that I'm expert at and they're not, that I can perform. But in like real life scenarios, it probably just comes down to like, okay, you gotta know like a little bit, but there's like really a limit to how much parkour is really gonna be useful to you. And you probably gotta be able to push the send button, and you gotta be more fit, and that's what it comes down to. And then like in Cavemen, like some of the techniques, like there's that, and they're really cool. Like, but you got like step vault prees in there, and you got like the kind of like handstand Kong over the railing that happens like early on, like which is like really cool moves. But yeah, those are definitely not like the fastest way if they were trying to escape.
Yeah. But they look cool.
No, that's why I say
and
it's more
reminiscent of like Jackie Chan,
and it's why I still think parkour.
It's stunt parkour. It's chase scene scenarios, right? Where it's like you wouldn't actually do this in real life, but wasn't it cool that he did it in this film or whatever? So.
Yeah, I just wanted to say like it's more about like parkour is still more about expression than it is about utility, which is always the debate. Because if it is about utility, like just do a little bit of parkour and maybe a lot of CrossFit or something, and you'll probably be more.
Well, this is the problem I have with the definition for free running is that, and like the difference between parkour and free running is that freedom of expression is free running, and like aesthetic things, but parkour is not aesthetic or free to or has freedom of expression. So it's like that doesn't make any sense because Cavemen 5 is a great example of a scenario where they are expressing themselves on these long lines, not because, and they're not doing it because I want to be strong to be useful. They're doing it largely because this is the type of movement they find cool, and I and many others find it also aesthetic to watch it, like, right? So it's a weird dichotomy that we have in our sport where we talk about parkour versus free running, and free running is the aesthetic, the good-looking moves, and parkour is just raw, fundamental, right? Like,
yeah, I think to the moments of because there is a lot of there still is a lot of A to B in it, but the moments of expression are more like it's almost like a flex, you know. Like this was the run or the path I saw, and there's a continuous movement throughout it. Like they're not going back to do like a 180 or something, you know, which is again a big part of parkour, both the like freestyle aspect, but also what some people still view as like the more efficient traditional aspect. But they're not doing that. A lot of it is actually continuing in the same direction, but they're still throwing in a front flip. They're still throwing in a vault variation. They're still throwing in things that are more or less just like I said, I think just a note of expression in the middle of the more like efficient movement.
But the whole efficient movement, that is expression in itself. That's my argument.
Yeah. I mean, it still is. Yeah.
But yeah, it is just another note of expression, but it's just a different one. But actually, yeah. Should we get into like criticism of the video? Because I have a lot of criticism of it.
I will say that this one, it didn't hit me as hard. And that's probably just a me thing. There are a couple of really, really cool and like obvious progressions they've made. I do think the length killed it for me a little. No, sorry, okay. Didn't kill it for me. Still great video. Still, even though we joked at the beginning and said like, you know, best video 2023, I think it will actually at the end of 2023 be probably like probably within the top 3, if not still the top. But the length it did go on a bit long, and I do think they could have trimmed out some of it.
Yeah, I agree with that. So I actually was just curious. I was like, all right, well, how long were the previous Cavemen? The first 2 were like 3 to 4 minutes. The second 2, so like Caveman 3 and Caveman 4, were like 4 to 5 minutes. And then this one was 12 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's like, or over 12 minutes,
yeah,
right? So it's like,
jump.
So it's a huge jump in the length of video. And it can be actually broken down into 6 parts, right? So you have solo max, solo bench, then you have tandem. So that was like both of them moving together in a lot of lines. A lot of it like POV shots, like follow shots, which is, they've done in previous Cavemen, but also was like, it's always cool to see that because it's such a rare shot actually in parkour videos. You don't ever see that unless it's like POV late to school and you're like, oh, you know. Anyway, then there was another solo max, another solo bench, and then the black and white section, which didn't do anything for me. There was some cool stuff that happened in it, but it was, in my view, the weakest section, and they finished on the weakest section, which is always a problem with parkour videos. Is I want a video to start with something that really grabs me and finish something that leaves a lasting impact, and everything in between also matters. There needs to be nice like peaks and valleys, but those are the things that really matter, is grab my attention and leave me with a lasting impact. And I felt like they didn't really do the latter, and they could have done a better job on the former as well.
Well, it's like what I'm about to say is a little different than what you just described, but you have like a 3-act structure of like storytelling. But in a 3-act structure, you usually have like a denouement at the end. So like you don't end the story.
What does that mean, Rene?
It means you don't end on a climax typically. There needs to be like a wrap up. So I think you like end on a climax, and I'll say that's like a preference.
Ooh, I don't know, man. Like
you'd have to look at. Well, I'm gonna say it's a preference because you'd have to look at like data to determine if that's actually like the best way to end. What we're looking at too is like montages, like parkour videos being montages where it's just like an edit with.
Sure, it's a preference, but after this we're gonna go back and watch Cavemen 4 because I did watch Cavemen 4, right basically before coming here. In my opinion, it's a tighter edit. All the lines are banger. And they finish with a really cool line that's tandem, and like basically is the climax line of it. And I think you're gonna watch that and be like, wow, that was much better video. And it's not necessarily because the lines in Caveman 5 sucked or anything like that. They're all really good, or many of them are really good. I think they could have trimmed out some of them to make it a tighter edit. But do you remember, so let's come back to Caveman 5. Do you remember what was the coolest moment in the video?
Caveman 5?
Yeah.
It's one of the black and white, for me, that's the most was one of the black, or I'll say two. I like the net descent. It's really cool. But I think it's a parking garage in Brighton where Benj does like a stride and then he does like tact and stride plow right to the edge, and that's a massive drop on the edge, and then he does the descent. And that was like the coolest line to me. That one, like really for like parkour dreams, like that's a parkour dream line for me. And I think that was in the black and white section.
It might have been in Benj's solo section right before the black and white section, but I can't remember exactly. But I think for most people when we're watching this video, they're gonna say the net descent. And that's because like it's just like this, what the hell is this structure, first of all? And two, where did they how did they think that they could just jump to it? And then not only jump to it, but then just like slide down all of it and then figure out a way to get all the way to the ground level. I thought that was like the standout moment of like the most epic moment of the video. And what if I walk away from the video and try to remember all the individual lines, never gonna happen, but I'm always gonna remember that net descent. And that's smack in the middle during the first that tandem section. So in my opinion, that middle section is the best section because it has all these like interesting tandem lines. There's a lot of POV follow, and it has that net descent, which is just a dream like experience in parkour terms. And it's something so rare you'll never see you'll never see anything like that before. I think the video was too long. I think I wish it would have ended on something more memorable because it just kind of fizzles at the end. And something more memorable would have been good. Yeah.
Well, okay, so back to the climactic ending and the denouement.
Denouement.
You can it does need so again, end on the hardest line, and the wrap up, we'll call it, doesn't need to be long, but it needs to happen. You can't. I don't think it's good to do. I can't remember how dive holes ended because you do the double.
It's a slow mo, and then it's me.
But then we are celebrating, right? So it would be wrong to, in traditional terms of like storytelling, it'd be wrong to just do it, maybe do a replay, and then fade to black. That'd be wrong. Yeah. You actually do need a little bit of like going around, high five, to the celebration, because the audience needs to see like, okay, like this is our hero's journey, and they achieved like the final challenge, and it's completed, and like what happens now? They're celebrating, they're done, they get the parade or whatever home, and then end of
Ascension 2
end of story.
ends with me running away and with the arms
so
up.
those are like pretty good choices. You can even lengthen it a little bit from there, but so I agree with you on like the climax, the heaviest hitting part probably should go at the end, and then just a little bit of breathing room, and then video ends. But yeah, I agree that Cavemen 5, and it's not just a critique of Cavemen 5. It's like every parkour video, as you said, doesn't really do that. I'm not sure what's going through people's heads when they choose like the order of stuff. And so that's one thing we can say. Like if you're looking to improve probably the watchability of your parkour videos, I don't know if this is going to equal views, because the parkour or the Storror brand is so big that they're going to get great views no matter what. But it would make the video better, like without question. It would be interesting to know, and the funny thing about this is I bet you Storror is recording a podcast right now.
Where they're talking about it, they're breaking it down.
We're recording this one, and it's going to come out a couple days after ours. Everything we say is going to be answered.
Yeah.
But we're not going to talk about it next week, because we don't do that. So... Anyways, I am curious what was left, if anything, what was left on the cutting room floor. Like if anything was cut out. Because I know, and this is also, I think, to last year's Storror Awards, where it was actually Benj, when they were talking about Breach, and they mentioned Breach, the video, and they're like, oh, more of that. And they were talking about like the long edit. Like so they're a fan of what we're not a fan of, which is long montage. What I would like is some breaks and a little bit of context. That's the word we like, So why was the last section in black and white? I get it that there's, an artistic choice there, and it's not necessarily a bad choice.
They did this in Cavemen 4 as well.
Yeah, and like I think it's a throwback. By the way, love the throwback of the art on the floor that says Cavemen 5. They go,
you beat me
so
to
cool.
So I wanted to say this, like one thing that I really loved was the inclusion of the artwork. So Callum messaged me actually after one of our podcasts, and he said that the Cave Brothers are working on a Caveman drop for clothing.
Sick.
Which is cool, because I just went back and looked at their Instagram again, and they have some super cool like potential designs, it's just their artwork really, and it's like I would be all over that kind of stuff if Storror was dropping more of that. So a Caveman drop I'm really looking forward to, and maybe I'll finally like spend the money on shipping to buy some of the garms. But we'll see if they have any designs I like. But based on their Instagram, it's like I could point at basically anything on their Instagram and be like, that's cool. Would be great on a shirt. But I love the inclusion of like the artwork on the floor and on like that whatever that structure was. The one thing I did not like though, which of course I'm being negative here, but is the constant inclusion of the titles. Like there was multiple times where it's just like Cavemen, Cavemen, and then Storror, and it's like none of them were like the end, and I feel like as a viewer you're signaling that's the end. This is this is almost like end credit of like Cavemen or end title, but it was weird to have them just in the middle of the video, and I felt like that was just it was poor signaling. It was to the point where it was just like, oh, this must be the end. Oh, it's not the end. And then now I'm like, oh, I thought it was ending. I was kind of happy that it was ending there, but no, here we go. It's ending. It's not. It's continuing to roll on. So I felt like that was a weird choice, but I really loved the artwork that was included on the floor and things like that. So really, it's really identifying. It really shows like their identity as athletes, because they're athletes, they're artists, and they're like, this is their video concept.
Yeah. I just like that they kept going back to that with because it's in other Cavemen videos where something on the floor always appears, so it's a nice little Easter egg.
They do it in Cavemen 4, but it's just like like Cavemen, it just says Cavemen, but in this it's like they've got the faces going, they've got the like graffiti-esque kind of style.
Yeah.
So it's actually like shows artwork instead of just saying Cavemen.
Yeah. Yeah, we're being super. I think you're being more critical than me.
I'm being very critical because I feel like it could have been a great video, and for me it was just good. And this is not to say that like the lines weren't awesome or anything like that. It's just that the composition of the video like
comes down to edit.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe I'm just a parkour snob, but I feel like historically you've been the more critical one, and now I'm being way more critical. But
well, I'm kind of getting. I think I'm just getting used to.
I'm criticizing because I care. I really do. I really love the Cavemen series, and now I'm watching Cavemen 5, and I'm like, there were so many great moments in this, and this could have been such a more epic video.
Yeah, I think I'm just getting used to the idea that that there's a push for longer videos. I think it's a mistake, but I'm not as bothered by it. I'm like expecting it. Like, oh, I'm expecting it long. I tried to watch Cavemen 5 in a hurry yesterday morning because had to get to the gym, and I'm like, oh, can I just put this on as I'm like brushing my teeth? And then I turn and I'm like, 12 minutes? I can't brush my teeth for 12 minutes. I had to sit in. Plus, like I want to watch it on.
You could, but I don't know.
I was like, yeah, I'll be able to watch it like 2 times while I'm getting ready here. And it's like, no, I couldn't even get through it once. So I had to wait till later. And I mean, honestly, I'd rather watch these types of things on a bigger screen, anyways. But I was planning on rewatching. So I'm just used to the idea that things are going to be longer now, but I would like to say that anyone listening who's aspiring to put out an edit, that they start thinking about what the viewing experience is going to be, and if it's longer, why is it longer? What are you giving the viewer that makes them want to watch it longer? Because I think the concept of like, well, they're bangers. These are banger clips. That's enough to want to watch. It's not. We're in an age where people are so used to like scrolling fast through stuff, so attention spans are shorter. But it's also an age where if I am watching something longer, I'm tuning out from it. If I'm watching a long thing on YouTube, it's usually something where like I'm watching it, cool, I'm watching this vlog, and I'm just gonna check the gram real quick. All right, back to the vlog. I'm not actually gonna be focused on it the whole time. So you're asking a lot for me to just be staring at a music montage of action clips, because there's no sport, there's no activity, there's no thing at the highest level. I could be watching, someone could be watching, I don't know, the greatest Messi highlights. And if it's like 20 minutes long, they're going to be they're not going to be like, this guy is amazing and incredible and he's a genius for 20 whole minutes. It doesn't, there needs to be interjection and stuff. So things that could help with a 10-minute plus, we'll say, but I even really think a 5-minute plus is pushing it, which might be the length of my video, by the way. But if we're going 5 minutes plus here, there needs to be some sort of interjections. I need dialogue. I need references. I need breaks. I need context. I need stories. I need something other than just action with music. And making the shots longer doesn't solve the problem either, which was the issue with Capstone, is like we just have these long shots. There needs to be some sort of interjections if we're going for that length. It's just too long for a montage.
Yeah, I agree. And another issue that I found with Cavemen 5, which is actually distinct from Cavemen 4, was that all of the spots look the same, or at least the majority of the spots look the same. So it's hard to really it's hard to sit there and watch it all, where, I mean, it wasn't that hard. I did it twice, actually. I watched it twice because I wanted to solidify my thoughts on this. But I feel like as you're watching it, it's hard to distinguish between what you're watching, and when that's going on for such a long period of time, it starts to get old. Even if it's really incredible things happening, it's like every spot looks the same. Whereas actually Cavemen 4, there's a lot more spot diversity. There's a lot more environmental diversity that looks different. So it's easier to kind of parse in your head, like this line versus this line versus this line. So, and the caveat to that is like, holy crap, England has crazy awesome spots. So it's like, I don't know. And especially like what they end up finding, it's like dream lines that are like, I don't, at least dream lines in terms of more traditional parkour, but it's so rare to find anything like that outside of England. And I haven't done a ton of traveling, but you're not going to do that at a spot in Vancouver.
No.
You might find like one or two of those somewhere, but yeah.
Well, we got like the universities and stuff have some aspects of that, but
not
even
the
same volume.
Not the same volume. It's crazy. It's crazy what they come across.
Well, I also wonder how much of it is like residential, because I don't know. I was scouting like a couple of days ago, and I was having a talk with Lucas where I was saying, I think I used to be a lot more comfortable exposing myself, like let's just go climb up there and like check it out. I think I've become a little bit more reserved, and it kind of sucks, because if anything, I should be more confident. But I think I've become a little bit more reserved about just climbing something. Like I think I'm climbing something or going up on something, like oh, there we can get up to this roof here. I think I'm much more, maybe the crew solution. It's another crew solution thing, because I just feel like just really sketched out about the idea of it. Like I just don't want to be, I don't want to be yelled at, It's like, whereas I didn't used to be as bothered by it, and I don't think the Storror guys seem to be as, because I think so much of their spots are not really spots, but so much of the things they find are like, this is definitely trespassing. This is definitely part of someone's house here too, or whatever. It's not just like I feel much different about like a business, unless there's like people in the office and it's open and they're like, hey, what are you doing? But residential is a weird one. Because I would hate it if just like I'm like at home and I just like hear someone like dropping down like out, right outside my window or something. That would be alarming, to say the least.
It would be very much alarming. Yeah. Man, age is a weird thing, huh? Start getting older and start being like, what are you doing on my porch?
There's a question I wanted to kind of finish with here, and it's just if we can dial back a moment to the length issue.
Yeah.
So I think it's cool that parkour is aiming longer, particularly with YouTube, because we do have an overwhelming amount of like short content where it's just, out into the ether, it flies by, like it, cool, done, fire emoji, whatever, done with it. And I think the thing that longer forms of video or media or film or whatever you want to call it can do is they can leave a more lasting impression. However, the way that we're executing it right now, I don't think works. I think there needs to be more of the things I listed earlier. But I wanted to ask you, this isn't just parkour, and this might actually be a question that we'll come back to next week, because I don't know if you'll be able to come up with something right now. I'm actually struggling in my own mind. But can you think of a piece of media that you've consumed that is over 10 minutes long, or we'll say over 5 minutes, we'll make it even, over five, that you watched, and immediately after watching it, you were like, I need to watch this again?
Can I think of it? Yeah.
Like where you were like, watched it, and you were like, let's go again.
Let's go again.
Again, this might be, I think this is like, I'd like this to be a homework question, because I want to have a conversation about this, and I want to have a conversation about it here with you guys watching, because I think that's something that hopefully if we can come up with some answers, I think we can start to pick some things where it's like, okay, like this was why this needed a rewatch, an immediate rewatch, because that's what you want. That's what you should be aiming for if you're trying to do something longer, is because the shorter it is, the more likely someone is going to be like, let's see that again. The longer it is, the less likely someone's going to be so inspired. Because I can think of coming out of movie theaters. I can think first time I came out of Avengers Endgame, I was like, yo, next week, let's go see this right away again. Like, I was already wanting to go through the experience again. Which is, saying a lot. We have like a $1 million, multi-million dollar, $100 million production, with the best actors in the world and stuff, and all this, all kinds of stuff going into it. So obviously it's saying a lot, but narrowing it down to like something that you consumed on YouTube that was longer than 5 minutes that you needed to click again. Because I could think of maybe like some educational stuff where I was like, I need to wrap my head around that again.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, that. So I showed you a ski video like recently.
Yeah.
And I had the thought like, oh, I want to watch it again, but I didn't. And that was definitely like a 10 to 15 minute.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, it also has Red Bull behind it, but like that was a better watch and had a better flow to the video than most parkour videos, including Cavemen 5, including Capstone, including a lot of these other videos that we have talked about.
I think that's another good topic for next week too, is because we were talking about that the other day a little bit about like some of the failures of Red Bull within parkour, but that's another episode because we've been talking for a while here today.
Yeah, we have. Should we wrap up with some final thoughts here?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Oh, damn, I was hoping you would go first.
I think I already gave my final thoughts.
Okay.
But I would like to.
Okay.
I would like to. That's my homework for next week. Is I want to think of something that I watched that was over 5 minutes that I immediately was, maybe not immediately went back, but was thinking like, need to say this, need to watch this again. I'm just super motivated. Either happen immediately or like very soon after.
Totally speculative. And I'm sure we'll either.
Oh, I got one actually.
Oh yeah.
The Liver King Lie.
Oh. Okay.
And that was long, and I watched that like within a day, and that was like a long, like dialed in watch, but that one did it for me.
Interesting.
Maybe we'll talk about why next week.
Okay. Okay. Anyway, totally speculative, and I'm sure we're gonna get either a comment or a DM correcting us saying no, this isn't true. But do you think maybe Cavemen 5 was longer, like over 10 minutes? It's a 12-minute watch for YouTube, for algorithm.
I thought about that.
Ad revenue.
Yeah, I thought about that. I thought about that maybe a shorter version or perhaps why sometimes parkour's going longer is because YouTube algorithm prefers it.
And also ad revenue in general, because you can put more ads onto a 10-minute video than you can with under 10-minute video. So
yeah, I didn't get any ads. I'm on that premium.
Speculative. So. Probably not true. They probably just edited the video they wanted to do. But I'm so torn on this video because I really love the Cavemen series and I love so much about the video, but at the end of watching it, especially after the second time, it was like this doesn't tick all the boxes for me. And it's upsetting because I know the next Caveman isn't going to be for another 2 years probably, at least. Because they spend a lot of time scouting the lines, going and working through them and gathering the clips and putting it all together. So I know it takes a long time for them to do. I've been there with my own projects and how long it's taken for those things to get done. So, and actually I was very inspired by Cavemen when I was working on dive holes. I was going to try to get it out really fast. And then I heard them, I want to say it was like in a podcast or something, where they said something along the lines of like, they don't mind taking as long as it takes to get it done.
Yeah.
So it's like, it doesn't matter if it takes a couple years. They'd rather just wait and take their time with the project instead of just like hammer it out and put out something that they're not as proud of.
Well, you never want, like if you're an author, you never want your second book for people to read it and be like, it wasn't as good as the first one.
Yeah.
You know, so you do have to take however long it takes to make sure it's better than the first one.
I remembered what I wanted to say about Ascension 2 like a while back, as we were talking about the Undercling Dino Ascent and how like I still believe it's probably going to be something I'll never be able to top in my parkour career. It was just literally the pinnacle achievement of my career in parkour. And this is actually what gets me when people ask me, like people always ask me, hey, is Ascension 3 ever going to come out? And it's just like, how do I top 2?
Yeah,
It's like literally, in my head, it's literally impossible to top 2 because I'm never going to do anything like that hard and risky. I guess it wasn't super risky because I was very competent and confident, but yeah, it's a hard like speed bump to get over of like, well, I don't know if I want to even do a third edition of this because everyone's going to then compare it back to 2 and be like, well, the one and 2 was pretty incredible, or anyway. So never say never. I for a while I thought I would never do a 3, and I'm actually kind of warming up to the idea of some type of Ascent video again. I don't know if it'll be under the Ascension name though. So.
Right. So I just want to say again, next week, actually before that, out of 5, Cavemen 5.
Oh. You first.
I actually, in spite of the length, I guess I'll say, and I haven't rewatched it yet. I haven't had the time because I need 12 minutes to be if I'm tight, because even if it's the end of the day and I just turn something on, it's not something I'm focused on. It's never something I'm focused. If I turn something on, it's like a show or something, and I'm like, oh, let's rewatch it tomorrow, whatever. So I would like to give it a nice 12-minute focus, but I am going to say 4.5 out of 5. Just because it had enough of the right flavor for me. It wasn't overly long that I was actually taken out of it. It's a great deal. Like I actually found that with Capstone being there was a moment in Capstone where I'm like, kind of want to watch something else. Like I wasn't hypnotized by it, So yeah, 4.5.
3.5.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I see, and this is it's really hard for me to say that because it's literally the type of parkour that I want to see.
Yeah.
It's like everything about what they're doing is what I want to see more of. Nobody else is doing lines that are as long as they are, and nobody else is doing lines that cover as much ground as they're covering. And not only that, but they're doing it at a high level. They're doing things with consequence. They're doing things with height involved. What they're doing is so cool.
So basically it's a 5, and then it
goes
goes down for you mostly because of the edit.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what I have to consider when I'm giving this rating. So
I think, so for me, there's like just enough redeeming qualities that I forgive the.
If I was judging Cavemen 4, I would probably give that one a 5.
Yeah, I think a lot of the other ones I would say 5 out of 5.
Yeah,
4,
I still have to go back
4.
and rewatch 1 to 3, but man, Cavemen 4, go back and watch Cavemen 4. Tight edit, love it.
Yeah, I do think 4 is really great. Okay, so this is actually the first time I think we're going to do this, but I do want to say these are the things I want to talk about next week.
Okay.
So I want to talk about the comparison of Red Bull on other sports. where it's going wrong with parkour,
Okay.
and where it's going right with other sports, and why the videos they put out, because we struggle to say that Red Bull has done a really cool parkour video. And I'm actually going to go and look. Because I know there's been some cool themes with Jason Paul that I have to go rewatch.
No, let's not talk about it right now. We'll talk about this next week.
Okay. So, anyways, where it's going wrong with parkour, where it's going right with other sports, and maybe how we can fix that. I want to also the question that I said about the 5-minute or more piece of media. We're going to try to think of some examples and then try to draw from those where we can improve on with some parkour videos. And if there's anything else that happens between now and then, we'll talk about that too, of course.
We'll see if the content gods bless us again with another video. Oh.
All right, y'all. That is it for today. Please drop us a comment on anything that you agree with, disagree with. Continue the conversation down below in the comments. Drop us a like, hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already, and we'll see you next week.